Whenever we meet someone, it's always like the most unexpected. And it's also not someone who we even imagined, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a really big reaction.
Yeah, Sharleen really wanted to marry a good-looking guy.
Right.
Yeah, she always dreamed about that.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good.
Good. I feel like today's topic is particularly hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Mm-hmm.
When I polled our listeners, the Shandies, over on Instagram for questions around the topic of singledom and being single with purpose and happiness, the response was honestly overwhelming, I got to tell you. And so I'm so excited about our guest today because he is extremely qualified to help us delve into this topic. So our guest today is none other than John Kim, a licensed marriage and family therapist known as the Angry Therapist, beloved as the unconventional therapist who cuts the crap and tells it like it is. He's the founder of Tat Lab, a wellness app of self-betterment content and courses, as well as JRNI, a life coach training course. I don't know how this man does it all. He is the host of the Angry Therapist podcast and can be found on Instagram at The Angry Therapist. And last but certainly not least, he is the author of 3 books, 2017's The Angry Therapist, a No BS Guide to Finding and Living Your Own Truth, 2019's I Used to Be a Miserable Fuck, and the brand new Single on Purpose. We're so excited to welcome John Kim with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for, man, just you picking up my book means a lot to me because it actually means that I'm glad that you have it in your hand. That's great.
Well, you know, there's something about a hard copy book. I'm one of those people that's clinging on to the written word on paper, I guess.
And I can vouch for the fact that she did read it cover to cover. I watched her do it. It happened.
It was honestly a delightful read. I love how you write. It's so colloquial. It just feels very conversational, like you're talking to a friend.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So, John, we're going to get right into it because obviously the premise of the book is finding happiness outside of a relationship. You know, it does seem like the focus is very much on everything's on hold until, like, my life will begin when I find this forever partnership.
Right.
What do you think the biggest mistakes are that people make when it comes to singledom and how we regard singledom?
Oh, man. I think the first thing is, and I don't even think it's our fault. I think it's conditioning. I think it's, the whole happily ever after and then the quote unquote, the one. It's programming, advertising, all that stuff. We've been conditioned that if we're alone, it means that something is wrong with us or that we're not complete. And we need to find someone quick. So one of the mistakes people make is after a relationship ends or expires, they just try to find someone else as fast as they can. Mm-hmm. And I think if you have a pattern of doing that, then you're kind of you're not creating any opportunities to find yourself. So I think the growth soil is the richest after a breakup, if you're willing to look at it and process, examine the black box and all that. If you're not and you're just trying to find someone else, then you miss such huge opportunity to work on yourself.
Yeah. No, I love how you word that, the soil for growth. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that throughout the book, and I love that. I love how it's the perfect image because it does feel like it is ripe. It has so many nutrients in it, but a lot of people I don't think even bother. What's the word planting?
Sowing.
What's the one where you...
Hoeing.
It's so true. Okay. And then regarding mistakes people make when they're in a relationship, do you think they also make mistakes?
Yeah. I think when they're in a relationship, they stop because they found someone, they stop, doing the work, right? They drop the ball. They let go of self-care, taking care of themselves. And then it just, over the years sweats. And then it's like, it just becomes super casual. And I think there's a responsibility when you choose to love someone, to continue what you are working on when you met the person, or else it's false advertising.
That's so true.
That is true, actually.
It's happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's happened to both of us.
Yeah, and I think we can both. Oh, do you think in our current relationship?
No. Hey, whoa. Easy.
Wow.
Everything here is perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, I can relate to that a lot. I can say that I fell into that in past relationships.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like people like spend their whole lives trying to create an image of themselves that will fit what they want to achieve in a partner, as opposed to just doing it because they want to do it. You know, there's different ways of looking at it, but I do feel like oftentimes I've had to check myself in my life where I'm like, am I doing this because I want to get laid? Or am I doing this because I like doing this? You know, throughout my whole teen years and into my 20s and 30s. And I think it's really important to check in with that, you know, not just about, you know, getting laid, but it's just finding a partner. Sometimes all the things we do, we don't even realize that we're trying to make ourselves look better for a partner, where we really should be just trying to make ourselves feel better about what we're doing.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people do that.
You say in the book, you have to grow individually if you want to grow as a couple. And it seems simple, but it is, I think, often underestimated.
And also hard. No one teaches us, you know.
No.
There was an ad I saw that really kind of landed for me. I think it was a yogurt ad. I don't remember, but it was it was two people. They were now like in their 80s in separate bathtubs. Like I think it was over the Grand Canyon, which just implies that they've come a long way. They're facing the same direction. They're kind of looking out into the world. And the only thing connecting them was their hand. They were holding hands in the separate bathtubs. And I saw it and I was like, oh, this is what healthy love looks like. Because the image that many have is two people in a jacuzzi on top of each other, facing each other.
So true.
Which is sexy and feels good and all that. But enmeshment and codependency and, you know, everything that we're talking about, where your level of differentiation of self is very low because you guys are so, you know, enmeshed. And that feels amazing. And I think because it feels amazing, it shoots a lot of dopamine. That's what we trace. That's what we chase. But it's not. And then we don't know how to be alone. And we're then dependent on that feeling.
Yeah. Also, I think it creates an unrealistic expectation. Like,
Right.
yeah, there's a moment where you're like, oh, sharing a bathtub facing each other and holding hands might be really nice for a while. But honestly, that's really not what a healthy, sustainable relationship looks like over time. And
You're talking about the hot tub. You mean the hot tub?
What did I say? I said
The bathtub.
Oh, okay. Pardon me. This
Get your
thing
tubs right.
Yeah, come on.
This thing has vents, excuse me. But it's true. And then you look at that as this ideal, and then that's pretty hard to achieve. Like, even if you do achieve it, to maintain that, I don't know if I would think that's the healthiest relationship after
No,
many
I don't
years.
think so either. I think it's just about shared experience. As long as your shared experience is strong, like you could be in separate cities, as long as you're looking at the same thing and appreciating it together. Like it's always about, for me, that's what it's always been about.
So you talk in the book about blueprints and how they're keeping us from being happy. Could you explain this a bit?
Yeah, blueprints that are formed by advertising, media, locker rooms, our parents, right? That whole thing, and that we may be aware of or not be aware of, instead of creating our own.
Yeah.
So when it comes to love, what love looks like, you know, what sex looks like, what, you know, all of that stuff.
I love how you worded it in the book. You talked about how, like, you gave an example of a blueprint that wouldn't necessarily bring any fulfillment, which is like, get married by 30, make babies by 32 or whatever. And then you end up in this sort of cycle of unhappiness if you have not reached that, when it's just sort of like the blueprint itself is what's flawed.
Yeah, I call it the American nightmare. It's the whole running toward the picket fence, you know, the 2.2 kids. And I mean, it's okay to want those things, but if that's what you're really running toward without doing any work on yourself and without looking inward, without doing anything, I think you're setting yourself up for hardship and pain and dysfunction and all that.
Okay, so since we're going to start now talking about that work, you know, it's doing the work. It's very catchphrasey to be like, oh, do the work. In a practical sense, you can be like, yeah, you want to work on yourself, expand your hobbies, your interests, and your social circle, all the things. But a word that came up a lot when we polled our listeners was loneliness. You know, how even if logically and our Shandys are very logical thinkers. Logically, you can be like, yeah, I know I need to work on myself. Yeah, I haven't met anyone, and this is the time to, work on, I don't know, plant in the soil. What was it? Hoe?
Hoe around. Just do a lot of
around that soil. So let's say that person logically recognizes that, but really struggles with what can only be described as loneliness. What would you tell that person?
Well, first, my book is called "Single on Purpose, Not Single Forever." So I'm not saying that I'm not saying to go stop finding love and all that. I think loneliness is a feeling, like hunger, like being horny, like being tired. And the thing with loneliness is we internalize it. So instead of just feeling and allowing ourselves to be lonely, we tie it to our worth, and we think, oh, because I'm lonely, I'm defective, I'm less than. And that's what's damaging is the residue. It's the internalization. We're social creatures. We're going to be lonely. We're going to be lonely if we don't have friends. We're going to be lonely. We're not meant to do life alone. So the loneliness is normal. So I would say to be aware of it, to be compassionate, to accept and allow yourself to feel it instead of reject it. But don't tie your value, your worth, right? Just because you're lonely doesn't mean that you're not attractive or dateable or, all those other things.
Right.
Would you say that's another top mistake people make, is sort of
wallowing?
Yeah, wallowing and making it mean more than it does.
Yeah, I think especially today with the toxic swipe culture, I think it's really hard. Did you guys when you were single, did you guys play around with dating apps and all that, or no?
Yeah, we did. But we've been together now for almost 8 years, and I feel like it's gotten so bad, honestly, since we've been together.
Yeah. I'm really happy I missed out on this.
I love how you described it as toxic, because I feel like more attention needs to be paid to how toxic it is. Like, it's not normal.
And along those lines, just to interrupt, what do you say to a woman? Because I feel like the dating apps have gotten to a point where it's turned the tables, the roles of women and men in dating. And it's put the women at a terrible disadvantage, I feel, and given the men an unfair advantage, which historically has not been there. It's been the opposite. The men chase and the women are chased. And now it's kind of the opposite. What do you say to a woman who's just like, she's done everything for herself, and she's on these apps, and it's just constant, like disappointment, ghosting, like she's doing everything right. And just the way that the system is now with dating apps, it's just rigged against her. And what do you tell someone who's just like spinning their wheels, so frustrated?
Yeah, I think you can't put all your chips on the dating app. I think the dating app is one tool, right? Right. I think it starts with the intention of being open and meeting people, and whether it's running into someone at the supermarket or getting hooked up with a friend or using a dating app. I mean, they're all okay. But I think today, because we live in a world where everything is done through our phones and we want instant gratification, our food's delivered. If our Amazon package doesn't come in one day, then we're furious, right? Like stuff like that. So because of that, we put a lot of pressure on the app and the delivery of the app. So when it comes to dating, we scroll through these pictures, which are filtered, and then if it doesn't work out, we get very disappointed. But I don't think it's alone. A dating app is going to find you your partner. I mean, it can, but I don't think you should depend on that one tool.
So can you tell some of these women, and we've had this conversation and we've had fans
we talk about this all the time.
Can you date without using the apps? Is it possible, and can it be done, and is it fruitful?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say to not use them at all. I mean, I think the technology is great. I think you have to use a little spoon. And what I mean by that is when you go get ice cream and they give you that little red spoon to taste instead of, you know what I'm saying? So like you come home and you flip through it when you're feeling good about yourself, not when you're feeling shitty. And you flirt and you do, whatever you do on day, and then you put it away. And then you also meet people, on Instagram or, at a party or whatever. And then it doesn't have so much power over you. A lot of people are just holding onto that app with two hands, swiping, and they're just focusing, putting a lot of pressure on there, meeting people. The people turn out to be misleading or whatever, or they don't show up at all, or they get catfished or whatever. And then they're like, fuck this. This is exhausting. I don't want to. And then they get very discouraged. So use a small spoon And also only use it when you feel good about yourself. Don't use a dating app when you feel shitty and you're desperate.
Ooh.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but you can see how some people would turn to it to get, I don't know, an ego stroke. But what you're saying is...
But that validation may turn into something
the opposite.
Much more insidious.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good advice. I like that. Okay, question. Do you think we must be content by ourselves before finding a partnership? Do you think it's...
I don't think before, because, this idea of content being an island, and once you get there, it's like, it's not permanent, right? It's also the problem I have with the word happy is like, are you happy? Well, maybe today. I don't know what I'm going to be like an hour from now. I think it goes up and down, and so I don't think we put stuff on hold until we are happy or content. I think we work on our happiness as we try to find someone that who deserves us, and then when we get into a relationship, we're constantly working on being content.
I like how you put that in the book too, about how it really is your own responsibility to continue to work on that, on your own happiness. It's not like you find this partner and now it's their job.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think many people drop the ball there, and then that's why the relationship starts to, crumble.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone else.
Yeah. I've done my work. All done now. Retired.
Yeah. I found you. Now make me happy for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Do you think we seek life partners? This is a question from a Shandy, and I liked this one. Do you think we seek life partners because it's actually all that valuable, or because it's expected of us?
Man, I don't know. I know for myself, I haven't experimented with other type of relationship models like open and poly and all that. I've only been in monogamous relationships. So from that angle, I enjoy doing nothing with someone. I enjoy like building something with someone. I enjoy eating out with, like, I don't like being alone, although I'm okay with it. And I've been alone many times. I don't think we're wired to be alone. I think we're social creatures. And so I think we're always going to gravitate toward companionship in some form or another.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we, like you said, we are social creatures. I just find that an interesting question, because actually that ties into my next one. And this one actually also came up a lot more than I was expecting. And that is around feeling so comfortable by yourself that you're several Shandys said, I'm so comfortable with myself that I am afraid it's like weird. Like, I'm not really putting myself out there. I don't really feel the need for a relationship. Do you think that is counterintuitive in the long run, or counterproductive? Do you think that could be harmful, or do you think that just is what it is?
No, I think there's something underneath that. And I think I know what you're talking about. Like, if someone is single on purpose for a long time and they're like, I don't need anyone. Like, this is great. I want to be with myself for the rest of my life. I think there's some kind of fear, some kind of denial, something underneath that. I don't know. Because if you are so comfortable with yourself, then why wouldn't you want to share that comfort with someone else? Like, wouldn't that get you to feel like, oh, I'm actually ready now, finally, to invest in something that's going to be meaningful?
That is such a therapist response. It's like, but what's underneath that? Let me find out. Andy, we are heading back home to New York soon.
Sure are.
And what would you say you are most excited about?
I mean, this is a fed line, but I'm sincere. I want to make it clear. I am most excited about getting into my luxurious, delightful, sweat-killing Cozy Earth sheets.
Yes, our Cozy Earth sheets we miss dearly. There's nothing like climbing into your own bed, but especially when it has Cozy Earth sheets on it. And Cozy Earth sheets are made with super soft viscose from bamboo. So not only is it insanely soft and cooling, but it's actually more sustainable as well.
Bamboo, the most paradoxical plant on earth.
Yes.
Both incredibly hard and incredibly soft.
Yes.
And I would like to point out that I am wearing, not because we're doing an ad, I am wearing Cozy Earth
loungewear. Yeah.
Is that what this is called?
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, they're
I'm
lounge
lounging
pants.
in this and I wear it. These Cozy Earth pants, I wear an embarrassingly frequent number of times. I wear these pretty much
every day.
Every day.
I'm not kidding.
It's pretty gross, but they're delightful. I challenge you to tell me I'm wrong. Buy the Cozy Earth loungewear and say, Andy, you know what? You were wrong. I don't enjoy wearing this. I challenge you.
Yeah, it's very squishy, soft. And I got to say, since those arrived in the mail, you have been living in them.
It's gross. Yeah.
And always worth mentioning that Cozy Earth sheets have been on Oprah's most favorite things list for several years in a row now. And Oprah can't be wrong.
Yep. She's done it to herself. Once you're that big, you can't sell crap.
Yeah, she's America's greatest curator, and she cannot be bought, so she knows what she's talking about.
Yes.
So our audience can save a whopping 35% on Cozy Earth, but hurry, the offer ends soon.
So don't wait. Go to cozyearth.com and enter the code Shandy to save 35%.
That's cozyearth.com, promo code Shandy, cozyearth.com. Okay, let's say you have it all figured out. You've done the work. You know that you're happy single and you're working on yourself, but you have a friend or multiple friends who routinely lose themselves in codependent relationships.
Sure.
What advice would you give to someone helping someone else?
The whole helping other people, no one's gonna take advice until they're ready to hear it. And I think with our friends, because we care about them and we want them to do well, we give a lot of advice, and it just falls flat because they're not ready to listen to it. So they're gonna have to want to change on their own for themselves. It's like if you have someone who is out of shape, and you tell them what to do and what to eat and the programming and all that, and you just give them exactly, if they just do this, it's gonna work. If they don't actually want to do it, they're not going to do anything. So they have to actually have that inner desire. And so, I think that comes from the individual. I don't think we can give someone that.
Do you think someone could say something to just plant the seed? Or I'm just curious.
Yeah. What you do is, you go out to coffee with them and they're telling you about their codependent relationship or abusive or whatever, and you hear them and you support them. And then you start asking them questions instead of saying, here, this is what you need to do. You need to leave that guy. You say, things like, well, how does that make you feel about yourself? What kind of relationship do you want? Is it worth being in? Like, just questions, using questions as kind of the rudder. I find that a lot more powerful than saying, hey, listen, this is what you need to do. I have the answers, So you're coming with your friend instead of at your friend. So
not the Bob Newhart. I know you know what I'm talking about. The Bob Newhart Stop It. Have you ever, you've never seen that?
No.
Are you kidding? The first thing I thought when I saw that you were like the angry therapist, I thought there's a sketch. It was on SNL, Bob Newhart, comedian from way back. He did a sketch where he's a therapist and this woman comes in, she's got all these problems,
Oh, he says, stop it.
Yeah, and he's just like, I have a very special technique. It's $5 and it's only going to take about 2 or 3 minutes at most. And then all he says is stop it. That's all he says. And I honestly feel like I'm sort of torn. Sometimes I feel like there are special cases where someone needs that.
Sure.
And I don't know. Do you ever do that? Do you ever just want to shake someone?
Yeah.
Stop doing the same mistake over and over again.
Of course.
No matter how much you tell them to stop and how you tell them why they should stop.
Yeah, all the time with clients, with friends, but then I kind of stop myself. And I mean, you're right. There's also value in the slap in the face, right? There's value in calling someone out on their shit. There's value in all of that, but it's not valuable until it's earned. And so if that's all you do, you're not going to earn that trust. So first, creating a safe space, listening, supporting, being empathetic, that produces glue, that builds trust. And then once in a while, hey, listen, this is what I think you need to do. Then it lands really hard. Then they're like, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. You got to earn the stop it.
It holds more weight. You got to earn the stop it. I like that. You get more out of asking questions.
It's very true.
Than telling people what
as frustrating as it may be at times.
I kind of feel like that can be applied to many things in life.
Everything.
Humans in general.
And it's also harder to ask someone an interesting and a question that's going to lead to a revelation than just pointing a finger. That's easy.
Yeah. It's interesting when I was watching a debate between Sam Harris and some Canadian, I forget his name, famous Canadian philosopher. And it was interesting the way it was like a 2-hour debate about religion. And the way they opened it was, their technique was to explain to the other person what they believe. And so basically, this is what you believe, correct? And then they keep saying that. And so they basically reinforce it. They're like, I'm listening to what you believe in,
right.
and I'm echoing what you believe in, and this is what we're going to discuss. It's supposed to be, this is what I believe in.
Yeah.
What you believe in is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's just an interesting style of how to get to a place where you can have a conversation with a person.
I would also think an underutilized style.
Well, nowadays, particularly. I mean, everyone's right out of the gate with a baseball bat. You know?
Right. What you just said is a great model to start if you want to talk to your partner about some kind of conflict. Because what we do say is, hey, here's what you're doing wrong, here, whatever. But instead, if you say, hey, here's what I'm hearing from you, this is where you're coming from, then people feel heard. And when people feel heard, guards come down.
Exactly.
And, you can try to understand instead of trying to be understood. So, that's actually really good. It's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's say you're in a happy, loving, healthy partnership, but you might find yourself sort of becoming codependent. You just enjoy each other so much. We all know what that feels like. And like you said, it's a high. How would you advise someone maintain their individuality and independence while in a loving relationship?
Yeah, first, codependency isn't just enjoying someone so much. It's this. There's a spectrum of it, but my girlfriend's also a therapist, and she specializes in codependency. And I love her definition. She says, "If you're okay, I'm okay. If you're not okay, I'm not okay." Mm-hmm. That's codependency, right? So, where if something is, I used to be codependent, and I thought. If you go down, I'll go down with you, which I think is romantic and sexy. And if I go down, you go down with me. It's us against the world, right? And that's very high school love. Healthy means if you go down, I'll give you my hand, not my life, right? I'll support you. I'm not willing to lose my sense of, not because I don't love you, but I'm not willing to lose my sense of self and who I am because you're in a bad place. Right. I will support you as much as I can without losing me.
Right. If you can't hold on to my hand, you're going off the cliff. It's your problem.
I'm going to
grip really hard. I got a strong hand.
It's the end of the Titanic. Did he offer the hand? I don't remember.
They just went in the water together, I think. I don't know. Yeah, they were holding hands, I think, when they jumped
Yeah, but
off.
she should have taken the boat because then he could have had that.
Yeah.
Driftwood.
They both made some poor decisions, but in the end, one of them survived, so we can't criticize them that much.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so advice on how one could maintain that individuality.
Yes, the simple answer is to get a life. And I know it sounds mean, but have your own friends. Go to the gym. What lights you up? What are you pursuing? Have your own taste in music, movies, food. Actually. Don't bleed into someone invisible because you're scared of what your partner is going to say, or there's relationships are about compromise, but not compromise of self. So be your own person. It's actually hard to do. As I'm saying this, I myself struggle with it. I'm trying to do. I'm the do as I say, not as I do therapist. Because when you get into a relationship, especially if you're living with a person and you're sharing everything, it's just easy to lose yourself. It feels good,
It does.
But to have your own life, because you end up I don't want friends. I'm with you. I love hanging out with you. You know?
I have more fun with you than with other people. Why would I bother? Yeah.
Right. Oh, you want to watch that? I'll watch that because I love you. Oh, you want to eat that? I'll eat that too. Yeah, I prefer something else, but I'm doing this for you because I love you. It could go that way, over time. Then you wake up one day and you're like Michael J. Fox when he couldn't get his parents together in Back to the Future. And that photograph is just dissolving.
By the way, the most ridiculous plot hole ever. Why would it fade? It wouldn't fade. It would just be there or not be there.
That's your takeaway.
That was my problem.
Is that the most absurd thing about Back to the Future? That was my problem with the movie.
It was the photograph. Everything else made total sense.
I like that answer.
Yeah,
Get a life.
Answer. Get a life.
That's a very angry therapist answer.
In a relationship or outside of a relationship. I always the was it Mario Nintendo where the ghosts that kill you if you look at them, you can't look at them.
Yeah.
Right. I see that as like relationships. I was thinking about that the other day.
Okay.
In the Nintendo, there's these ghosts that follow Mario around. And if he looks at them, they stop. But if he turns away, they chase him. And I feel that's the way with partners, whether it's same sex, opposite sex, when you're focusing on something else.
Yeah,
when
you're looking ahead.
Doing your own thing and looking that way and out at the world, you're going to have them chasing. And when you're staring at them, like they're going to...
But I think it's not also just about being chased. It's about the ghost, like the ghost consumes you.
Oh, it's
right?
the metaphor doesn't work at all. In the game. The game totally doesn't work. But the concept of like looking at something and it not moving towards you, but looking away and it moving towards you is what I'm getting at. And it's like, if you focus on yourself in or out of a relationship.
Oh, and that's a good point. You attract more.
You attract the ghost.
That was a slow play, but you got there.
Yeah, it was winding.
I think that's like a life rule, not only with relationships, but the ghost can be work. The ghost can be, a goal. It can be anything. Yeah. I think whenever you're aligned with desperation or what I say a lot, exchanging your truth for membership, I think you are chasing and not attracting.
Right.
So for me, most of my 20s and 30s, it was chasing and nothing good happened because I was in a lower frequency. And then after my divorce, rebuilding my life, going back to school, doing all the stuff, I slowly started to stand on my truth, and I started to more be in an attracting state. And I don't think it happens overnight, but gradually I started meeting people, opportunities, things started happening, falling from the sky. And I think that is a lot of what you're talking about. Attracting instead of chasing.
That was very kind and generous of him to take it in that direction.
You liked his explanation better than my Mario Brothers?
Well, so speaking of frequency, because you do talk about frequency as well, for anyone who's not familiar with that term, can you describe what you mean by low frequency versus higher frequency?
Yeah. I used to live in dread and worry. I used to think the sky was falling. I was in a panic state, fight or flight. And that's very... Someone's pointing a finger, which is something we said not to do. Remember, you have to ask him questions. You can't be pointing. She literally pointed a finger.
Okay, I'm sorry, Andy. Would you say that you live in a state of worry and dread?
I believe the sky is falling. It's a fact. Don't judge me for it.
So was my point validated then?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing out my side of the story.
Please continue.
So lower frequencies, like worry, dread, hopelessness, pessimism, all of that. Also anger, jealousy, shame. Shame is probably one of the lowest. Guilt, all of that. And then higher frequencies would be, at the top, I think love, but creativity, hope, flow. I'm really into flow and chasing flow states.
Spontaneity, maybe?
Spontaneity, sure. Gratitude, that's a big one. So trying to live when you're aware, because we dip right throughout the day, depending on what happens in our life. I didn't have the tools to pull myself up. So I would hit worry and dread and I would stay there. To be aware of that and see if you can change your frequency, if you could live higher without something, you don't have to win the lottery. Like it happens because you have the ability to, not because it's contingent on something else happening or someone loving you or someone else's yes and no,
When you say the tools, can you maybe give a few exampls? The tools
it
to
can be
lift yourself?
Sure. It depends on what you do, but it could be anything from, someone's meditation practice to, I have this Harley here and I use it as a tool to get out of my head, right? So even something like a motorcycle can be a therapeutic tool. I make sure I work out every day or do some kind of movement, all of that. So like the stuff, whatever works for you, the stuff that gets you out of that lower frequency and gets you to live on a higher plane.
I love how so much of your messaging is around things that you yourself have gone through. Like you're very candid about your tough times. And like you said, having lived in a lower frequency and not having had the tools. Thus, I think you're the perfect person to ask. What advice would you give to someone who is single and haunted by regret? They can't sort of move on from that. I think we all know what that feels like.
Yeah, the rumination.
Yeah.
Yeah. What depending on what the regret is, what do they regret?
Let's say, well, this particular Shandy, the question was around having ended a near decade-long relationship, and within 6 months, I think he had met and married someone else or something, and she was devastated. And, of course, on the surface, you're like, oh, yeah, it ended because it was broken, that kind of thing. But what would you tell someone like that who, she did make a decision, but she still feels regretful? Of course, you're going to ask a million questions because you're the therapist, but I don't have much more information than that about her story.
I just want to make an analogy to that. I hate that. And I've done it. Everyone's done that. But it's the same advice you give in like investing, right? If you make money on a stock and then you sell the stock and you're like, wow, I made a lot of money. And then the stock goes up 5,000%.
Yeah.
And you're like banging your head, you're like, damn it, I'm such an idiot. It's such a terrible way to live. And I'm guilty of this.
Yeah.
Very
I think
much
we all
so.
are.
And I think that's a perfect example of like, she broke off the relationship. First of all, breaking off a relationship, especially a 10-year one, takes an enormous amount of energy and overcoming inertia, right? So she should have trusted in her decision. Like if she did it, it was the right decision. Who cares what happens? Who cares if he becomes president of the world? And, who cares? It doesn't matter. But anyway, I'll let John answer.
A good segue, I feel, John, would be in the book you talk about expired relationships. I love how you word that. It's one thing to be like, oh, it's over, but expired. That's what this question has me thinking, is sort of regretting something that really had gone bad.
I used that word for myself after, my ex-wife divorced me. I didn't want the divorce. It kind of cut me at the knees. And I would have a lot of regret. If I only did this, if I had more money, if whatever, my penis was bigger. If I had all these things that I was playing in my head. But if I started to think of it as the relationship actually expired, right? What if it wasn't meant to go any further? It played out its course and its purpose. It allows me to accept more than to say she broke up with me. The other thing about someone breaking up with you, it's very easy then to get into victim mode. Someone did something to you. And then when you're in victim mode, that's speaking of lower frequencies, that's one of the lowest, it's the to me instead of the higher frequency, which is through me. Right. So you kind of create your own prison. And a lot of people who have that mindset, it's not just with relationships, it's everywhere in their life. Something happened to them. They got fired, and nothing ever good happens to them because they're just a victim. That's how they see themselves. So if you say something has expired, and I know some people have a problem with that because they're like, what were you saying? Like relationships are like milk? Like, what are you saying? It cheapens the relationship.
Most of them are, yeah.
Some of them are. I don't want to minimize the relationship. I don't want to cheapen it. But the word expired has really helped me in many of my relationships. Accept it. I get it. It wasn't meant to go. And there's something, a learning. It's going to be a catalyst to something, and I trust that, right?
I like
going, yeah. Hey, and also,
I like that too.
When you were saying about the stock thing, which is hilarious, I was thinking, so my mom's old school Korean, and if she won the lottery, I always tell the story that the first thing she would say, if she won $200 million, the first thing she would say is, fuck the taxes, I got to pay on. You know what I'm saying?
God, it's you.
Instead of the fact that you have 100 million coming.
That's more my mother than me. Don't put that on me. I'd be very happy with a $200 million lottery winning.
I mean, Andy has been.
You would only get 100 though. You'd only get
Wait,
100.
what?
Yeah.
You always say that whenever we watch Survivor. You're like, they don't
different.
actually win $1 million.
Survivor's only $1 million. That when they're done with that, that's actually not much. But 200 million will do the trick, I think.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. But that's a mindset, and that's a habit, and that's a pattern, and it can lead to a little bit of a lower frequency and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is sort of like a sidestep question, but what would you tell someone who is trying to keep the faith in their search for a partner, but they're faced with disappointment over and over again? Any tools or tips for how to stay positive?
Yeah, that's so hard. I think it's one of the hardest things about being single is not knowing when or if you're going to meet someone.
Yeah.
So for me, because I've been in many relationships, there's no reason that's going to suddenly stop. So for me, it was more like the ticking clock wasn't me getting older. It was well, I'm going to meet someone. I don't know when I'm going to meet this person. I better get to work. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to be, fit. I want to have a purpose. I want to build something. I want to be connected to myself. I want to learn how to communicate. Like I want to do all that. I know this person's coming. I don't know when they're coming. So that's kind of how I looked at it. And I just got busy every day,
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, like you turn the tables. It's no longer like, oh, when will this person come so then I can be happy? Or like instead of focusing on the disappointment, it's like, oh, the clock is ticking. I need to work on myself. I only have this much more time single.
Yeah, but you're going to be with yourself no matter what.
That's true.
Yeah, you're stuck with yourself. You might as well be with someone good being with yourself.
Yeah, and speaking of questions, the reframe there is most people are like, when is this person coming? Which I think is a really bad, a dangerous question. Mm-hmm. It's who do you want to be when he or she comes?
Right.
Ooh.
Bring it back to you. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be? What's going to be different this time?
Oh, I like that. It's so reflective to take it in that direction, because it does sort of feel like people are just sort of waiting for.
Yeah, lots of waiting.
Yeah, a lot of waiting for something that resembles, I don't know, like a knight in shining armor. Yeah. Just sort of take all the things that haunt you about yourself away, but
they don't even know what they want. They don't know what their true needs are.
Well, someone who focuses on it like that. Yeah. But I love that. Like, who do I want to be?
It's great.
In that relationship?
It's a great way to look at it.
And also, I don't know if it's true for you guys, but whenever we meet someone, it's always like the most unexpected, and it's also not someone who we even imagined, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
100%. Yeah. Sorry, I had a really big reaction.
Yeah, Sharleen really wanted to marry a good-looking guy.
Right.
Yeah, she always dreamed about that.
No, it's so true. Like, it's unexpected, but in the best way. It's like an ice cream flavor that you've never tried, and you're like, whoa, I have tasted every other flavor. I already know this is my favorite one ever. Yeah. I don't need to taste it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Turmeric flavor ice cream.
Right. You're like, oh, interesting.
Okay, great answers. All right. So let's say you're reaching a point where, you've gotten a life, you're working on yourself, and you now have to deal with the judgment of society, the people around you. Yeah. So, let's say you're getting so-called encouragement from friends or family, like, oh, you'll find someone, that kind of thing. Or even just sort of feeling behind, like friends and family are maybe getting married, making babies, and you just sort of feel this urgency.
Yeah, that's real. I get it. That's the other ticking clock you're talking about, Mm-hmm. I know that relationships are hard, and I know that everyone who presents themselves as being, the perfect couple, that's impossible, right? They have their own struggles and all of that. And so I don't know if I would say it out loud. It might be kind of mean, but I would be like, I'm not ready to be in a relationship because the kind of relationship I want, I want the best relationship. I want the relationship that is the most healthy. I want to bring the best version of myself. And so me being single, it doesn't mean that I have less. It actually means I have more of a chance than you do, because I know you guys are, not you guys, but I know that you guys are struggling, and I know, whatever. So being single, then I think a lot of people say that to single people because they're jealous, because they have already, now they're in something and it's a lot of work. And I don't, I think it has more to do with their own story than the fact that their friend is single.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe try to remember that when dealing with people. That would drive me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's just sometimes the judgment from other people is
I think it also pressures people to settle.
Oh, 100%.
Like, okay, I got to end this. I can't be that person anymore, who everyone sees. And that's go ahead.
Why does me being single have such a reaction in you? What's going on in you that my singleness is,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
turn it on them.
I want to have the balls to say that.
Why do you care? Idiot.
No one has the balls to say that, by the way.
I want to be the person. I want to be the person who does. Here's the thing: is like if the person said that to you, I feel like they're not close enough to you where it would be worth going there. Does that make sense?
Right.
It's always
not worth the energy.
Yeah, it's like the Larry David method.
What's the Larry David method?
Just doing those things
It's true.
all the time.
Oh, we're just being blunt. Right?
Yeah, with
Yeah.
everybody, no matter what
Yeah.
the situation.
It's fun to watch.
It is.
But again, I don't have the
But
balls.
hard to do.
Okay, final question for you, John, and then we're going to let you go. Do you think in today's dating climate, a single person still needs to be super proactive about dating, or do you think that if they work on themselves, if they, they build it, they will come? Do you think finding happiness within themselves will make the pieces fall into place?
There's this kind of ebb and flow to the whole single journey. And I think you have to gauge, because it's different for everyone. I think you have to gauge at what point are you being open and proactive and it's healthy. And then at what point are you now being desperate, doing more than you should, putting a lot of weight on certain things. And you have to gauge that, because no one can tell you what that is for you. And it's like me saying the whole thing about using a little spoon for the dating apps. Get a life, find meaning, put yourself out there, set the intention, tell the universe that you are looking for a partner, but also have non-negotiables, and don't chase after it so much that you start to lose all the work that you've been doing. And no one can tell you where that is, like on the equalizer, except you. You just got to be really honest with yourself.
I love that you just used the word desperate, because one of my favorite quotes from your book was, stop asking yourself if you will ever find the kind of person you've always dreamed of. Maybe you won't. But if that shakes your world, the last thing you need right now is a relationship, because that desperation will only poison whatever relationship you do find yourself in.
It'll make the relationship lopsided.
Yeah. I just loved that.
So true.
Yeah, I feel like, the word desperation, it is sort of this.
It smells. There's an odor to desperation.
Yeah, I don't love that word in general, because I feel like it has, all these negative connotations, but it should have negative connotations, because if you allow it in even subconsciously, I do think it does produce a lopsided.
You could be desperate in other things. You could be desperately hungry, or desperate to save yourself from some war-torn situation. But you should not be desperate in love ever.
Yeah.
Ever,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Ever. Bad luck.
And it's hard, sometimes we find someone that we think is amazing and they don't feel the same way about us. And so, there's that kind of what can I do to get this person, or, capture this person? There's that lining of desperation. So just being aware of it and knowing that, it doesn't lead to anything good.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
You're building on sand.
Yeah. Nice. Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say that you, John Kim, you are called the angry therapist. And I'm a little disappointed by the level of anger I've seen today.
I'm 48. You would have been more impressed if you met me at 20, because I would have been throwing chairs and yelling and talking over you guys. Turns out it doesn't work.
So you're the formerly angry therapist.
Yeah, it just doesn't have a ring to it. Or also, the happy, no one cares about the happy therapist.
It's so true.
So true.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you want is a happy therapist.
That just is going to piss people off. I was angry. I was unhappy. I was, like my book, I was very miserable and all of that. Yeah. I thought it was funny that a therapist was angry, but
it is funny.
Anyway, yeah.
I love how you humanize the therapist in general, I've got to say. Because, so Andy was previously engaged to a therapist, actually.
I was. Yep. A good one.
And you've always said, therapists have their issues too. And
That's how they learn.
Yeah.
I don't want I don't want someone who's had a perfectly nice life being my therapist. What do they know? They don't know
therapist.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I just love how you sort of pull back the curtain that, therapists are human, and it actually, I think, only validates the advice you give even more, is to know that you've lived it,
100%.
Yeah, I tried to tuck my shirt in. I tried the wrinkle-free pants, and I tried to be quote unquote a therapist. It just, again, it was me exchanging my truth for membership. I felt desperate. It didn't feel right. And so I got on Tumblr and I started blogging back in the day.
Wow.
And I got tattoos, got a bike. I just started to meet people at the park. I started to do things that raised some eyebrows. And I was like, you know what? I like, this is how I want to do it. I don't want an office. I wear a t-shirt. I'll meet you at the park and we'll go sit, on the bench and talk about life. If we're going to do life, let's talk about life. Let's do life while we're talking.
Yeah, lovely. That's a perfect place to wrap.
It is.
John Kim, you were a delightful guest. Thank you for sharing your wisdom
thank you.
with us today.
Well, thank you guys for
very much.
having me and creating this important conversation.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much. Okay.
All right.
We'll be in
Okay.
touch. Okay.
Be
Have
well.
a good night.
Bye.
Well, he was lovely.
Yeah, I liked him. He had a good energy.
Yeah. Would you say his energy was high frequency?
It was extremely high frequency. It was hurting my ears.
Yeah, no, I love his messaging. There's
Yeah.
a simplicity to it that I feel like we as humans have sort of veered away from.
Yeah.
You know, just like the ideas of like gratitude and creativity being high frequency. We're so focused on so many, there's so much distraction and things to buy and places to go and people to maybe try to befriend. And it's just so distracting from what would really bring us joy.
It really was a good twist on what usually is just someone saying, be more positive.
Yes.
I hate that. That doesn't mean anything.
No, it's true.
Tell me exactly what you're talking. Show me. What does that mean to be positive? And the way he described it with the high frequency, low frequency really resonated at the right frequency with me. But no, seriously, that's the way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the geographical places of positivity, not just be positive.
He talks in the book a lot about, you know, remembering a time before life got to you, before adulthood before, you know, adulting came your way and you got jaded and got fired and got heartbroken and had a hard time paying your bills and, you know, just life got in the way. I'm reminded of that counting song on YouTube.
Oh, 1,
It's
2,
like
3,
counting.
4,
No,
5, 6,
it's
7.
counting
right.
is a lot of fun. How counting's fun when you're like 3,
Right,
but
and
then
that's not
later on
fun.
it's a total nightmare.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that, and there's real truth in that. Like the things that brought you joy as a child when you're older are like, you're looking at everything through a different lens. It's colored very differently. But he talks in the book a lot about trying to tap back in to what brought you that joy. And his comparison, you know, he's big into motorcycles. When he was a little boy, would get on this little bike and he would get lost in the best way when he would just go wheeling down the street. And of course, that's like a simple example, but I do think that there are many versions that one can take with that. And yeah, I like that. It really got me thinking. It made me want to tap back into my inner child.
You should tap right in there.
Tap right in there.
Yeah. I just think overall his messaging is really important. It's like you can't just find a partner. If you want a partner, you can't just go and find a partner. It's not like you go shopping for it, even though the apps nowadays make it certainly seem like you're going shopping. It's not like that. You have to be something that someone wants to buy, and you have to be the thing that looks good on the person that you want.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
You know, it's like people are just looking. You have to look at it. And I'm going to say this.
Yeah,
You're
say
looking at it through the looking glass.
Why didn't you want to say that?
I hate that. Doesn't feel good saying it.
Why?
This is such a cliche,
Well,
but it's true.
If there's one thing I've learned from doing this podcast for almost a year and a half, it's that there are a shit ton of cliches when it comes to giving dating advice and just sort of life advice in this case.
Yes.
You know, there are cliches for a
There
reason.
really are. And you know what? Cliches, as much as you should avoid saying them, are almost all true.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah. They're all cliches is a broad term, but the sayings, the sayings that you're like, are you really giving me that saying?
Yeah.
It's like, what? Thanks, Dad. You know, like, I don't want to hear that, but they're all true.
If
There's a
anything-
reason why they're sayings.
If anything, as you get older, they become more true.
You realize as you get older that they were all true.
Yeah.
And you should have just listened to your annoying teachers, your annoying parents. They were all right.
Yeah.
They were all right.
It's true. There was a line from his book that I was hoping we would touch on, but we didn't. So I'm just going to single it out now because, again, the word loneliness and being lonely did come up a lot. And I think it's so much easier said than done to be like, it's just a feeling. Like, you'll get over it. You know,
right.
loneliness, you'll be fine. So he said, ask yourself, what if you never find a partner? This giant what if you keep asking yourself is preventing you from truly living. Instead, you are waiting around for something to happen to you, and that waiting produces the feeling of loneliness. But it's actually not loneliness you're struggling with. At the core, it's the deep belief that you will always be alone. It's hopelessness.
Yes. Yes.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. The differentiation between loneliness and hopelessness. It's very dangerous, I think, to mix the two up.
Yeah. Well, hopelessness is, as he was saying, it's an inward. It's like, I am useless. I can't do anything. There's nothing for me.
Yeah.
Loneliness without that is just like, I'm sad. I'm alone, but let's see what I can do while I'm alone.
Yes, exactly. The word that really stands out to me here is always. Like hopelessness comes from thinking you will always be alone.
Right. There's no fixing it.
Yeah.
It's broken. You're
exactly.
broken.
Yeah. While true loneliness, I think, is temporary.
Yeah. I don't think my Mario Ghost metaphor got enough respect. I'm doubling down there.
No, you know what? It kind of came out of left field, but the more I think about it, the more true it is. I think that it didn't quite line up with what we were talking about at the time, but I think it actually it applies to so much.
Everything. It applied to the whole conversation. Yes, I put it in the place where it probably wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But everything we talked about, don't look at the thing. I'm now only doing video game analogies.
My work here is done.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Well, Andy, I think that was lovely. He was delightful.
I liked him. Real down to earth guy. No nonsense. Angry? I'm not sure. But therapist, yes.
I love how even honest about that he is.
Yeah.
He's just like, no one cares about the happy therapist.
No one cares.
Yep.
Happy therapist, unhappy patient. Unhappy therapist, happy patient.
100% of the time.
85%.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed today's chat, you should really check out John Kim's book, Single on Purpose. It's delightful. It reads like a chat with a friend with a potty mouth. Even better. Love it. What's that?
I don't know what to say about that. Well, every time I hear someone say potty mouth, I get uncomfortable. It's a strange thing. Strange thing to say.
What do you mean? Where are you going with this?
Potty mouth is just normal. That's everything is potty mouth. Like I'm always potty mouth.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's like pointing out that the sky is blue.
It's like saying, like when someone says like, oh, bon appetit. Like I know, I eat food. I put it in my stomach. I get it. I want to be hungry for eating. I don't want to hear about it.
I loathe bon appetit because I think it's redundant. So you're right. I take it back. It's having a chat with a friend.
The guy was real.
A guy who's real.
Potty mouth. What are you, 90?
Sometimes I think I am in spirit. I'm like, what are the kids saying now?
Do you have any like hard sucking candies in a bowl that are like really stale on
there's
your
originals
coffee table? Yeah.
Actually, that gets me thinking. I got my hair cut the other day by a lovely young lady who was in her 20s, and she was teaching me all like the new terms, the dating terms. Nice. Apparently, to be cuffed up means you're in a committed relationship. It's like the new going steady. Cuffed up.
I'm okay with it. Oh, it's fine.
You could accept that one.
Good.
Okay, want me to tell you another one?
Yeah, I would like you to.
I wrote them down. Another one is to swerve. It's like if you're getting kind of sketchy, like you're like the person's not responding consistently, or it's like it seems like potential red flags. It's like they're swerving.
Can you use that in a sentence, please?
No.
I would insist upon it.
I'm too old to attempt it.
Please, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Tom hasn't texted me back since our second date. And then person B says, oh, it sounds like he's swerving.
Oh. And I also meant to ask you, how are your grandchildren doing?
Okay, and final one, third one, last but not least. To go ham.
To go ham?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's to like go full throttle. It's like I'm going to go all out.
Go ham.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm okay
like
with
she was
that.
we were talking about cutting my hair, and I'm like, yeah, I want long layers, but not too long, not too short. And she's like, don't worry, I won't go ham.
Is that a dating there, or is that just everything?
That's just life.
Anything. Yeah, okay. Got it.
Just general terminology.
I'm okay with, I like cuffed up and I like ham. A swerve is, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I like those other two.
Okay.
It's good stuff.
I'm glad.
I'm going to start using them. I'm going to be cool and hip.
Okay. Same.
Instantly.
Instantly.
It's all it takes. I'm just going to say ham all the time. Everything's ham.
Okay, Andy, do you feel good to wrap here?
I do.
If you enjoy Dear Shandy, you know what we're going to ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram, tell your friends, leave us Apple Podcast ratings and reviews, and generally do all the things you would do to keep a podcast that you enjoy in business. Thriving. Because we need you. We need each other.
We do. We are in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
We are in a codependent relationship. We are enmeshed. Help us.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye. Dear Shandy.